The hardest thing that I see a lot of business owners having, and even people coming into a company and, leading a team, is delegation. I was wearing all the hats in the beginning. So bringing the clients on, running the campaigns, managing the VAs, building the website, finance, HR, everything. I mean, HR wasn't really around then, but naturally had to sort of fit into that position of wearing all those hats. And then I had to teach my business partner how to sort of do all that to then naturally progress a lot of work over to him. And yeah, it's just one of those things where no matter who you're giving it to, that they're not going to do 100% of the job that you're currently doing. They might eventually get there, but you just have to sort of rip that Band-Aid off, let them, make mistakes and learn, but build processes around that. So you're not telling someone over and over again, the same instructions, that's where processes and systems come into place. Our first hire, major hire at the time, was, I think at the start of 2017, we had a few VAs, Simon and myself, and a couple of contractors. First full-time person we hired was actually a rep from Facebook. He's actually our account director today. I don't know if you've spoken to reps at Facebook, but because we were working across multiple accounts, back then you get assigned to a rep at Facebook per ad account. And the ad account, funny enough, that we got assigned to for this particular rep was the Cubs ad account. And I was doing some marketing for Cub at the time to get leads for more members. And this particular rep was just outstanding. He sort of would call me up randomly, see if I needed any help with the campaigns, and I think I just threw it out there. I'm like, it was in New Zealand too. So
how'd you pitch him? Was it on the phone?
It was on the phone. I think it was actually on a boat. It was one of the Cub days because Cub throws lots of little social events. I think I was actually on a boat and he called me up and I was like, mate, I'm sort of out at the moment. You don't need to call me, but that's awesome. I go, also, we're looking for, a Facebook marketer that can join the business. Do you know anyone that might be interested in your network, given that, you're working at Facebook? I think it was a third party at the time that Facebook contracts out to. And he was like, yeah, I'd be interested. And I'm like, no way. I'm like, you sure? He's like, yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah. I'm like, that we're just starting out. He's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, okay. But yeah, what I didn't know, that whole contracted company that Facebook was using in New Zealand, naturally, I think they ended up making redundant. So that a lot of jobs were sort of open with people that were sort of working for Facebook. Anyway, he ended up joining us, and given that we already knew his skills, we were just able to have that virtual relationship. And yeah, he was absolutely like a turning point in the business, having that like skill set outside of myself, and then also teaching Simon. The three of us were able to do a fair bit of damage, without having to train people. And we still didn't know a lot about running a business. I was great at Facebook and I was naturally a marketer. He was able just to provide that support that we needed to then go, cool, let's build this shit out.
Do you have to replace the product first? Is in delivering the product? Is that the first hire that every startup has to make?
I always thought if you have to be there to run the business and to deliver the service, then it's not a business. It's a high-paid consulting job. And naturally, because I was consulting a lot, I just felt like I had to remove myself from the equation as fast as possible in order for it to become a business. And my face was attached to the brand, and still is, but very much so was attached to the brand, that they didn't want to speak to anybody else, because everyone's like, go speak to Blake. You want Facebook ads, go speak to Blake. So it took a bit of time. I'd get comments back going, oh, look, such and such is doing a poor job, we want you. And I'm like, well, it's just not, I'm not going to step in just because you want to. And, it did take a while to fully remove myself, but yeah, I do feel that and another thing as well, it's not about just hiring talent. I think that the systems and processes build a business, and the people drive it. And that was a big learning for us as well. Although, Matthew, our account director, is an absolute wizard, we can't clone him. The more we grow, we need more Matthews. But the systems and operations are able to deliver a sort of approach to scale the business. And that's what we spent a lot of time during COVID on building, because we ran the business very much just from our own skill set and in our heads, until we realized, when we'd bring on an influx of clients, we'd always have cracks form. So having systems, having, having project management systems, CRMs, things to automate mundane tasks, having virtual assistants, all that stuff is very important before you start scaling and bringing on hundreds of clients.
Yeah, because it's profitability, right? Like, I think that's one of the realizations even for me is like, you can have amazing people, but if you're trying to grow a business beyond a small group of people, inevitably the more, and you mentioned it before, the more organized you are and the more processes and systems you have in place, once you get to say 12 people or 15 people or 20 people, the difference is an unorganized group of 20 people might generate 10% profit.
That's right.
Whereas a really organized group of people can probably push to that 25-30% mark, which is a great business, especially in the service field that we know, So
absolutely,
that's a great point, and absolutely love that.
Yeah.
What were some other things in the early days that you guys leveraged to really grow the business, or potential strategies that you used that really made a massive difference in, say, that jump from, the three of you with some VAs to maybe, the 10 kind of people or person mark?
I think a lot of the past experience I had with those several jobs I mentioned, I took a lot from those and took different pieces and elements from all those learnings into building the business, as did my business partner Simon. He had a very similar background in media buying. So I think leveraging, all those skill sets and learnings, but also a lot of it came, again, going back to that event company that I worked at. I think the fact that we're able to leverage a lot of the coaching space at the time, and I naturally was surrounded by that. So fortunately, a lot of the speakers that we worked with at that event company, we naturally ended up bringing on board just from referrals, and just knowing that, I was sort of working at that company now, running ads for clients, because I was just running ads for that company, not clients at the time. We had a lot of organic referrals coming through from that, and sort of built a bit of a niche within the coaching space. And then once you get a few on, naturally, it's because it is a small sort of industry. A lot of other coaches started to hit us up. Outside of that, again, I've already mentioned it, but outside of that, I think one of the biggest, incubators for building the brand and having a natural flow of clients and just referrals was having that business club. So being surrounded by a network of other business owners. So I think the mix of myself being able to do a few seminars and actually get up and speak on stage with some of our clients. One of our clients took me over to London. I was speaking on stage. We developed, some products around, Facebook advertising and education, being around Cub and having a network to leverage. And then doing our own marketing, practicing what we preached. We didn't run an ad for the first year in business, but when we started to, then we started to get new clients coming to us. And that was the biggest, that was actually probably the hardest nut to crack. Was cool, we can get referrals, we can leverage our network, we can leverage, Cub as a business club, but like getting someone who doesn't know us into, our database and getting them on board, that was probably the hardest thing to do. But once we cracked that, that's when we knew we had a brand on our hands.
Because that's the next step, right? That's where I always feel like the first iteration of business is proving your product.
Yes.
Making sure it's valuable. And you need to do that in the early days. Like, you don't want to over market your service, and if you're selling a horrible product that no one finds valuable, or it's not, you're not doing it at a good level, and it's not proven, and you only really get that by kind of increasing the flywheel all the time, where you've always got some leads coming in through word of mouth. But I think the next iteration is always like, okay, how do we double or triple our volume?
Yep.
And that comes from your marketing, which is, really interesting that you say that.
Yeah. Your family are your biggest supporters, but you can't build a big business on your family and your friends, can you?
Exactly.
And nor do you want to sell to your friends. I actually, as much as I like to help all my close friends and family, I don't want a full book of family and friends, naturally. If anything, I sort of like to do it for free, as bad as that sounds.
It's interesting. Like, it's one of those things in the beginning, you have to do it.
You have to.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to, because they will be your first customers.
Yeah.
and you need to, again, like, you can't prove your product unless you're actually delivering it for customers.
Yeah.
You can talk about it all you want, but
Your mate will forgive you.
yeah, exactly.
If you burn it, yeah.
Exactly. And then it's, but it's really interesting that you say that, is that next iteration is always about how do I increase volume, and always that does come down to, your marketing activities, and kind of how do you take that next step? What is that next step for you in terms of marketing activities? And
yeah, that's right.
I think there's an interesting relationship between, like, founder, like, yourself stepping out, and your partner having to deliver the product so that you can go do a lot of those things. You can go sell a little bit more. You can go do events. You can network. You can start to, execute some of those activities, which is always, again, something that you have to do as that next iterative step.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's right.
Mate, we're going to shift.
Cool.
Marketing. 2023, what's happening?
Far out. What a complicated world we live in right now. Look, I think the biggest shift that we found over the years is definitely like the creative element. I think TikTok has definitely influenced a lot about how we consume media online. I'm speaking more from a social media perspective at the moment. But yeah, I'm finding that the boycott of Facebook is sort of a theme at the moment. But also just people growing up with Facebook. There's probably not a lot of new adopters. The sort of market of Facebook, we're all sort of aging, and there's this new generation now on TikTok. And I think the way that we consume media has literally shifted overnight. Back in the day when I was first running Facebook ads, you could literally jump on the stock library of Facebook, and I'd be working with Vision PT at the time, and I would just type in personal trainer lifting weights and get a stock image up, and literally just have apply today for a free membership or free trial, and that would be it. Very simple. And because there wasn't a lot of saturation and competition back then on Facebook ads, you'd able to cut through the clutter pretty quickly. Fast forward to today, there's a lot of the barrier to entry is literally, it's so easy to create websites. It's very easy to build a business. You can slap together, a landing page and call yourself a business by a domain overnight almost. So there's a lot of distrust happening right now online. There's a lot of scammers, a lot of people who, are claiming lots of outlandish things and, get 30x in 30 days sort of thing, and it's ruining it for a lot of other people. So I think there's natural distrust right now in the marketplace online, which then forces us to get better at marketing. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Competition creates quality and improvement in what we do and what we practice. So this whole TikTok revolution, fast moving, motion graphics and reels is really what's happening right now, and it's making it a little bit harder for an advertiser or brand to keep on top of everything, right? We've got Facebook's ecosystem, we've got TikTok's ecosystem, then we have Google, then we've got programmatic. There's a lot out there and a lot to get confused by. I guess it makes our job as an agency a lot more important because people just can't be bothered to keep up with everything, and we have to naturally as an agency. But I think this year, we're going to see a lot of privacy first. Obviously, that's already been rolled out with iOS. I know Meta have just launched their verification, subscription, just like Twitter has. So that will be interesting to see, the cause and effect of that. I think TikTok's going to be something that, everyone has to watch. It's very much an organic platform still today. I think the advertising part of it's still in its infancy, but that's going to be a powerhouse. And I think things are naturally going to move that way for sure.